Hey, today we're talking about the Press Your Luck scandal. A guy named Michael Larson who learned how a game show worked and exploited that. Also got into some pretty neat scams. Neat? Is that the way you would describe as scams? It's the way I would. Anyways, this is a comedy podcast. We're going to laugh a whole bunch. There's some serious parts in here, but the majority of this, you're going to learn a little bit. You're going to laugh. Hopefully you're going to laugh, or you're just going to be annoyed with us. Hey, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, hit the bell icon, all the stuff the YouTubers say, and let's check out this episode. Hey, man.
What's up?
Hey, have you ever heard of Michael Larson?
Michael Larson?
Michael Larson. You might know him by his other name, Paul Michael Larson. Or you might know him by his other name, which is less of a name, more of what he's known for, the Press Your Luck scandal.
Press Your Luck. I have heard of this.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. The game goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, forget about it. Forget about
Episode's
it.
over. No. I'll forget.
Yeah,
I
hurry
promise,
up and forget about it. Hurry up and forget about it. You can slap you. I can slap you in the face.
He went on stage covered in bandages, right? And no one wanted to call him out on it. And they were like, this is normal.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence was there.
Yeah, which was crazy because it was the 70s. She was really young at the time.
Yes. Okay. So what happened?
Yeah. So Michael Larson, this is him. He was born in Lebanon, Ohio. And he was...
I'm pretty sure if it's in Ohio, they call it Lebanon. Same way we call it Lebanon here in Missouri. I don't think...
Yeah, that drives me crazy. I never call it Lebanon. That's wrong.
In Missouri, we have Lebanon and Nevada.
Yeah. Both
instead of Nevada.
Infuriate me. Both of them infuriate me.
You should talk to someone about the things that make you mad, because sometimes I call you and I go, this is crazy. Isn't this insane? And you're like, I mean, yeah. Like the things that don't make you mad are more concerning whenever you put them next to the stuff that does make you mad. Nevada, Lebanon, the McDonald's at the Grand Canyon costing more.
Freaking price gougers.
You don't understand.
It's like the hurricane right now.
The what?
You know the hurricane in the
car wash
in the Caribbean right now?
Oh, sorry.
Hurricane Beryl.
I didn't mean to make a joke about an actual disaster.
There's a hurricane going through the Caribbean right now, and it's about to make landfall in Jamaica. I don't know if this is true. I saw something yesterday. Someone said that they were trying to get their family out of there, and JetBlue is charging $38,000 for tickets out of Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah. Which is infuriating.
Because that's rugged
and
capitalism.
It's the same thing McDonald's was doing at the Grand Canyon.
Have I done the chicken thing on here before? Have I talked about how my mom's got bad ideas?
No.
My mom, and she listens to this, and I don't care. And I've told her.
My mom's got bad ideas.
She started to come around on this too, though. Is that she's of the libertarian position where it's like we should be able to barter chickens.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Where she's just like, if I want to pay the doctor in chickens, I should be able to pay the doctor in chickens.
Yeah.
And I was like, but the problem is
the doctor doesn't need chickens.
Doesn't need chickens. But the doctor asks you how many chickens you've got. Yeah. And then you go, I've got 10 chickens. And the doctor's like, great. Well, I want 8 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a lot of my chickens. And then she goes, we can just go to a different doctor. And I said, yeah, sure. But that doctor called the other doctor.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, I said 8 chickens, so don't undercut me.
Well, that doctor was like, hey, I see a patient coming from your doctor's office.
What do you think the world is in? This is still the current world.
Hey, I see a patient coming from your doctor's office. Would you happen to know, and this might sound crazy, but I just need to know
how many chickens that person's got?
How many chickens they have.
They got 10. Grandma asked for 9. What'd you ask for? I said 8,
but 9? Could probably get it at this point.
Now, if they come back, I'm going to say 9.
If they give you the 9, give me the extra one.
Is that
as a finder's fee?
So many ideas that exist of people who are just like, we should abolish the education system. They don't understand what it means, or the idea of people who are like, life was probably better in the 1800s or whatever. If you ever watch any medieval timepieces or whatever, like we were watching.
Life was not better.
We're watching Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah. And my wife is like,
not a documentary.
If we lived in this time,
just so you know.
I know, but I'm saying like, it's a good visualization of what the point that I'm making is that she goes, oh, if we lived in this kind of time area, I would love to live in a castle like that. I was like, you wouldn't live in a castle.
No, yeah, that would suck.
You would live in one of the huts.
Yeah.
where the
also,
poop water runs down the street from the castle.
Yeah.
That's where you would live.
But also, living in the castle versus where we live now. If you live in a 200 square foot apartment now, your life
is ready to kill you at any point.
Yeah,
take
also
the
true.
castle.
Also true.
That's also how every single conflict ends. Every time, if you're just out for a walk and you run across strangers, you both have to be like, "Are we going to kill each other?" That's not the
That's
world
why
we
you
live
shake
in.
hands.
Okay, I'm saying that the world we live in, everyone can read in our current society, and a lot of people are like, "We should abolish the education department," and you're like, "You're not understanding what it would mean to live in a society where everyone doesn't have a basic ability to read."
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about?
I saw this thing yesterday, and I'm curious how you answer this. Would you rather live now at, let's say, just the average income today?
Okay.
Just at the average income in the US today.
Yeah.
Or would you rather be the richest person on earth? Like, at what point does being the richest person on earth not be as good as being at the average income now? Like, what's the
I have an answer.
Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what question I'm asking right now?
If you
I feel like I'm
lived,
not
if you
asking
lived in
well.
the 1700s and you were the richest person on earth,
Yeah.
right? That's a different lifestyle than being the richest person on earth now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Because in 1870,
Yeah.
right, 93% of the world lived in extreme poverty. Okay. Now that number is less than 8%.
Yes.
So we've literally flipped the scale on
Yes.
that. But prior to 1870, with all the technological advances, the Industrial Revolution, all the stuff that has happened to our world, you know, the connected world that we live in now.
Yeah.
The lifestyle that you can live. Obviously, rich people live insane lifestyles, right?
Yeah.
But they still have an iPhone. I have an iPhone.
Yeah.
The phone that Jeff Bezos has is not better than my phone.
Well,
It's not though. The contact's in it.
Well-
Sure. Do you think it is? You think he's got a better
he's
phone?
got
than
the
us?
secret Amazon phone that they haven't released yet.
Oh, sure.
I'm kidding.
But I mean, Elon's got an iPhone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so there are those kind of like small luxuries that
Yeah.
are pretty equal across the board.
Yes.
Okay. Being the richest person in the 1700s meant that you might have
A little
running
bit
water
more
in your
food.
house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And like air conditioning didn't exist still.
Yeah.
And it was also determined by the number of people that you owned. And there were different elements of being the rich. Like, so Rockefeller. Do you know how much money Rockefeller had?
Adjusted for inflation or like in that
how
time?
much he actually had.
Oh, I don't know how much. He actually
$900
had.
million.
Yeah.
Billionaires did not exist then, but he was the richest person in the world. His wealth was, I forget which percentage of the GDP was, but insane amount of wealth.
wealthy, yeah.
But I'm saying prior to 1870, 90% of the world living in extreme poverty meant that there really was like the 1%ers were in like everything that you think
Insanely
of. All
wealthy.
of our founding fathers, the leaders that that formed our country were all the elites of the elites of the elites.
Yeah.
And now I guess I try to think of that stuff because I'm trying to be more grateful for what I do have instead of, because we do live in a consumer society where it's just like everything you see on TikTok is,
You're not content.
well, I mean, did you listen to the was it the podcast where they were talking about it was the British guy in Prof G's podcast, whatever his name is. But they were talking about how more and more people are not buying homes.
Yeah.
And housing is a thing that most people, if you polled most millennials and Gen Z, they would say that's something they may never get to have, right? But the top reality shows on Netflix are the luxury realtors.
Yes. Yeah.
And so seeing the wealth gap that exists there is pretty crazy, but it's still, the wealth gap that exists now is still hugely, vastly, incomprehensibly different than it was in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And I think that fact is something that a lot of people are just like, you know, I'm trying to be more grateful that when I go to sleep at night, I have an air conditioner that I can run all night. And it's going to cost me an extra 12 cents to run it.
Yeah.
You know,
it is pretty interesting in our society, the way it's set up. Like, I think back to Evangel when I lived in the dorm and I had one half of a small room was mine. And I was pretty content with that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I bought a house. And
Yes.
honestly, probably 3 months later, I was like, oh man, I wish we had another room.
I thought that today when I was driving to get breakfast. I was like, you know what? I miss how big my apartment was in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't huge.
Yeah.
But now where we're at now, it's like, man, if I just had like a little bit extra space.
You so quickly
adjust.
And you want more.
And so that is that's what I'm saying when like there's this consumer demon that has land. You're not wrong. I don't want to call it like a spirit, but like something that has come over
I know what you're saying.
all of us.
Yeah.
The desire for more. And a large part of that is I really did like the book of Slouching Toward Utopia. So much of that was the progress that happened between 1870 and then because that book goes like decade by decade how we got here.
Yeah, I listened to it. I think you're right. It's definitely a read.
The rate of progress that existed but in the last 150 years, we as people got conditioned to believe that rate of progress just is normal.
Yeah.
And
in fact that it's going to speed up. It's going to continue to go faster. Yeah.
And we'll go, this is what humans do. Where it's like, actually the fact is that humans have not done that.
Ever.
For every part of existence.
Yeah. Except for the part that we forgot back before the Egyptians got conquered and then moved to actual Egypt and restarted.
Is this a correct timeline that the pyramids for the Roman Empire, the pyramids were older to the Romans than the Romans are to us?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Bonkers.
That rate of technological advancement to then get to the 1900s.
Yeah.
The 1900s is the most insane century that has existed for Americans, for humans.
Yeah.
Humans, period.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
So we cannot comprehend.
Yeah, we went from cars not existing to people arguing whether or not we should put pants on horses in just 50 years.
For real though, and that is why a lot of this stuff I just go like, when people are arguing online, I go, shut up. Like when we look at the big picture here.
Yeah, it's less.
This is stupid.
But anyways, so my question was,
I would rather have a normal income now than to be the richest person.
The question is, what is the oldest year in history? Like how far back would you go to where you'd be like, I'd rather be the richest person in the world at that year than
if I could be the richest person
year.
Through the 50s and 60s, that'd be pretty tight.
1950 is the first year you would rather be the richest person alive than be an average person today.
No.
What's the first year you would be the richest person?
Trying to think of when the average income was like fine. I mean, but I'm also we're answering this as two straight white males, so I feel like that's a little bit different for the context.
That's also fair.
Probably the 2008 financial crisis. Yeah.
For me, it's 1902.
1902.
Yeah.
Why?
That was the year air conditioning was invented. I want to go before
That's what I'm thinking. I wouldn't want to live, but I also like cars. I like driving.
Yeah.
I
mean, they had the Model T then. You can Model T it up.
Sure.
But I hear those break down a lot.
But I'm saying that again, and it wouldn't matter if you were the richest person in the world if the rest of society is truly like desolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that
because what are you buying? What do you got to buy?
What are you spending your money on?
What do you have to buy at that point?
Right.
Yeah. Where's all the steak?
Where's all the what?
Where's all the steak?
Oh my gosh.
I'm so rich, there's no steak.
I'm saying that the luxury life they were living was
not very luxury compared to today's standards.
To today's luxury.
And that's the question. That's the question is like, at what point do you feel like it would be worth not having the average life today?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've stayed at some really nice hotels before, and I go, it would be nice to be very, very wealthy.
Well, duh. Yeah.
There's always, you can be the wealthiest person anytime and have a better life than what most people are living at that time. But I do agree that
I don't know. I think if you go before easily you go before 1850 and you're the richest person on the world, your life today as an average person is better than the richest person in 1850 and behind.
That's interesting. Yes.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because there's no air conditioning, and then there's less food security, even as the richest person.
Yes.
And
That's what I was going to say.
Indoor plumbing, all that stuff. Anyway,
actually, just general security.
Yeah.
Because again, what I've said is that before is that if you are the richest person, people are coming.
Everyone's trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah. Even your own family.
Right.
Yeah. Which
and
is
rich people used to just have piles of gold, and they would just come to your house and they could kill you
show up and just
literally
take all
take
your
your
money.
gold.
Yeah.
They can't take my offshore accounts. You know?
Yeah.
For
the
real.
only people who can do that is Sweden. All right. Anyways, we got to talk about this guy.
That's why I don't ride the Matterhorn ride at Disney. That Yeti's coming for my money, dude.
Oh, you're afraid of the Yeti. I thought, okay, that makes more sense.
Coming for my money. In the early days of this show, we did like affiliate ads where we were like, hey, sign up for Grammarly and use code TILLN, and we got like 15 cents. And now we just do Patreon. It's a much better way. It's better for us as creators. It's better for you as listeners. And it's a much more fun way for us to interact. We do monthly hangouts like on Zoom. We just hang out and play games online and get to know each other. It's a really fun time. So, but still use our code TILLN at Grammarly.com because I think it's still active.
It is still
we might
active.
get like a couple cents from that.
Yeah.
But join us on Patreon because we're having a great time.
Yeah. If you don't, we're going to have to start doing mobile game ads. Okay, so Michael Larson.
Yeah.
Paul Michael Larson sometimes goes by
That was a good
Paul.
tangent.
Normally goes by Michael Larson.
Done.
He was a guy who here's the thing.
Born in Lebanon, Ohio. That's how we got here. Holy cow. Sorry.
So he was a guy who had his life gone a little different. We would look back on the story I'm about to tell you and say, wow, he was a mogul from the start. But because of the way his life went, you're going to be like, he kind of sucked from the start.
Interesting.
So at an early age, he always was running into just different opportunities to try to make a buck. And so, for example, when he was a kid, he would buy candy bars and mark them up an extra $1 and sell it to all the kids in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he was an entrepreneur.
I did the same exact thing.
He was an early entrepreneur. And that's what I'm saying is had his life turned out a little different, people would be like, he was always destined to be a successful person.
Yeah.
But because his life turned out the way it turned out, everyone's like, he was always destined to be a trash bag.
I guess we'll find out where I end up.
We still got a lot of time. He graduates high school, goes through his life. In the 80s, he's working by day, he's repairing AC units.
Okay.
And on the weekends,
in the 80s.
on the weekends, he's an ice cream truck driver. And he spends all of his free time in his living room doing his favorite pastime.
Have I talked about my ice cream truck driver on here before? Have I talked about the man who drove my ice cream truck?
I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure I told the story about my parents' ice cream truck driver.
Oh, yeah, he pulled people over and stuff?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
What was your
My guy didn't have a thumb.
Oh, that's right.
His name was Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would have a different story about how he lost his thumb every time.
Every time you brought it up, because he didn't remember.
Because when you're a kid, you bring it up a lot.
What happened to your thumb?
When you're a kid, you go, Mario.
Mario. What happened to your thumb?
Sometimes I'd see him
I put it in your ice
twice
cream.
in one day. Because I would be at my house and he'd hit my neighborhood in the morning, and then we would go to grandma's house that afternoon, and he would have made it across town.
Yeah. And you'd be like, I could go see Mario.
I was like,
and you'd ask him
Mario.
about the thumb the second time, the same day. Different story. Terrifying song.
Sure.
So he would spend the rest of his time doing his favorite pastime, which was a little insane. This is the 80s. Okay. TVs are not what we think they are today.
Right.
Picture a TV today, they're super flat and
Yeah, like the
lightweight.
2004 Gigantor TVs.
They were
those
fat.
huge.
They weighed a
You
lot.
went to like a friend's basement and they had that massive TV.
And the speaker was as big as the screen below it. Yeah. Why? And you turn it to 100, it's still quieter than the speakers on our
Peak
TV.
movie watching,
That's
though.
insane.
Tell you what.
Yeah. So he doesn't have those. He's got like 80s tube TVs, right?
Sure.
But he's got a wall of 15 of them stacked on top of each other in his living room. And what he would do in his free time, he had 15 tube TVs, 3 rows of 5, and he stacked them up on top of each other. So he had 15 TVs.
Okay.
And he'd get home from his shift of ice cream truck driving.
You go on a date. And he's like, let me cook you dinner in my house. And so you as a woman walk into that living room.
Do you think, wow, this guy's a psychopath?
What year is the last that you would stay? You know, like how long until you go, I'm out of here?
I'm out of here. So what he would do is he would come home from a shift of ice cream trucking. Ice cream truckers.
You have a TV?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got a couple.
Wait a minute.
I got some.
And then he made his way to Richmond, Virginia.
So he'd come home from his ice cream truck shift, turn on all 15 TVs. This is him.
Thank you for
turn on all 15 TVs.
No, I'm with you.
And he'd turn on all 15 TVs to different game shows. And he would watch all 15
full volume.
Can
I buy an eye?
And he would study them for strategies that he could easily exploit. And he'd just sit there and watch. And then one day, he found his victim. Press Your Luck. It was a game show in the 80s. And the concept of the game show, like many other game shows, it started with trivia. And there'd be a series of trivia questions. And each trivia question you got right, you would earn 3 spins on the Press Your Luck board. That would come in phase B of the game.
Okay.
And so you and the contestants...
So you got to know the trivia.
Yeah, you and the contestants would answer your trivia questions, and then all of you would earn your spins for your right answers. At least 3 if you won, or I guess at least 0. But if you got at least one question right, you'd have 3 spins.
To be clear, though, before we get to this, he's spending his evenings. He's an ice cream truck driver.
Yeah.
Who's then going home. It's dark.
Yeah.
You know the TV glow scene? He's just sitting there, probably a pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
And just...
You're not exaggerating enough. He's watching 15 tube TVs, so his head is on a swivel.
He's doing... Have you seen those the what's that lifeguarding technique called? Have you seen that?
Oh,
where people think they're robots, dude. Where they're doing the whole like...
It's the craziest thing in the world, the way they're moving their head. They look like birds. Birds are lifeguards. So
Cover it up.
So you'd answer all your questions. Every one you got right, you'd get 3 spins on the board. And the board looks like this. And what would happen is the board would spin and they would light up, but you don't see, it doesn't show you what each of those categories are before you hit them. They just have the icon on it. So this is a flipped board. It shows you everything on the board.
Oh, okay.
But so then it lights up and you have a button, and when you push the button, it stops.
Right.
It's the spinner. And whatever you land on is your prize. And so there's a lot of cash prizes, $1,500, $500.
Okay.
And then there are go back 2 spaces. So you get whatever was 2 spaces before. There's trips. There is often cars or appliances.
Yeah, there's Australia there. There's Jamaica.
And then there's these little demons.
Yeah.
And they call that the whammy. And this is the whammy. And what whammy did is whammy took all of your money. And so some of the whammies look different. They all had different animations. But whenever you got the whammy, he would show up on screen like this and whammy all your cash. However much you won, he took all of your prizes away.
Okay.
Little Mr. Whammy.
They're like little bowling animations.
Kinda,
and everyone looks so sad.
Yeah, because you lost it all.
Yeah.
At any point, you could hit a whammy and lose everything you've got before.
Sure.
And so he's watching this game, and he's pretty good at trivia. He watches a lot of game shows, 15 a night to be precise. And so he's pretty good at trivia. He knows a lot of trivia. It's I feel pretty confident I could get a lot of spins.
Were there 15 different channels happening?
I don't know if there were different channels. I think he had VCRs and he was recording programs. And
Thank you for counting in your head to make sure you do all 15. It's pretty annoying. Stop.
I didn't rewind him. I didn't rewind that one.
You gotta fast forward to the commercials.
So he studies this game, and he's like, I'm pretty good at trivia. I think I can get every question right and get a lot of spins. He's like, the question is, how good can I spin?
Yeah.
So he's watching this thing go around, and everybody believed that where these prices
light up.
ended up was
Random.
random. But he realizes there was 5 patterns of where they would place different prizes.
Okay.
And they would alternate throughout the game. And so when the game starts, he could pick up what pattern he was on and know exactly what square to stop on to get the highest prize.
Okay.
And so he basically figured out that in any given pattern, square 4 and square 8 were always large cash prizes.
Okay.
So he said, if I can land on square 4 or land on square 8, then I win. He also identified where the whammies always land. And so he knows exactly where the whammies always are. He knows what to avoid. And he says the hardest thing is getting used to the rate to hit that button, to figure out the timing of that button. But he really believes, he's like, I know where this is going to be. I think I can do good at this. And so he spends his entire savings to get a bus ticket from Lebanon, Ohio.
His whole savings was worth a bus ticket. Let's just start there.
First of all, it's not any bus ticket. It's a bus ticket from Ohio to Burbank. So I don't know. This is the 80s, $50. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs to ride a bus.
And how much it costs to fly.
Yeah. In the 80s, though. Anyway, so he rides this bus from Lebanon, Ohio.
$38,000 is what I paid because they're price gouging us to get back to Kansas City. They know that this podcast exists and they're like, oh man, they're filming the next big thing.
So support us on
Patreon. 10 years, they're 10 years into filming the next big thing.
So he gets out there and he had 2 issues once he got to town.
Okay.
One, he didn't have any clothes that were television ready, appropriate. I don't know.
What, all those clothes have the chest cut out? What are you talking about? You didn't have any clothes. You had to buy a suit?
Yeah, so he had to buy a suit, but he didn't have a lot of money.
Everyone in the 80s wore suits on game shows.
Yeah, you had to look nice. And so he went to a thrift store in Los Angeles and he managed to get a dress shirt for 65 cents, which is equivalent to $1.91 in 2023. So inflation didn't hit the thrift store shirt market very hard.
Sure.
And so he gets that dress shirt. And now he has to get on the show. Like, that's the thing.
Right.
You don't just show up and they're like, yeah, welcome. You can be on the show. You have to earn it. And so, so he shows up.
What, are you going to sing for 3 judges and get a gold ticket? What are you talking about? I'm here for Press Your Luck. Let's see what you got.
Let's see what you're made of.
Oh, put some pants on that horse and I will not tolerate the nudity I see over here in all the USA. Oh, put some pants on. And they're like, all right, go ahead.
They're like, I didn't know you were part of the society. You should have said something. Of course you can be on.
My fellow, sir. Or no, their salute is. Oh.
So he shows up to like auditions.
Sure.
And the auditions were basically...
Are you a personality? Yeah.
I mean, they kind of were on, are you a personality?
Put a dud on TV.
But it was more of like, what's your story? Can we craft your story?
Yeah.
And so he tells them, I'm an ice cream truck driver from Ohio. I spent the last of my money getting to LA and buying this shirt. And they were like,
that's a great story.
Exactly the sob story we need. And so they put him on the show.
People need to know how poor you are. Is that okay for us to tell?
So they put him on the show and they tell his story. Here he is in his 65-cent shirt.
Yeah. How old is he in this? By the time he's doing this?
That's an interesting question. I think he would have been in his early 30s.
That's what I was. That's what I'm. Google what year he's born.
He was born in 49.
49. What year is this?
This is 83. November 83.
He is 34 years old. Just so people can know. We're 30.
We're 30. This man is
34 years old.
Dang, the next 4 years are going to be rough, bro.
Well, if they're anything like your last 4, yeah.
This is what you look like at 34 if you spend every night watching 15 TVs and eating a pint of ice cream.
I would look like at 34 if I didn't
I didn't look like me.
Get mentally abused in a relationship 10 years ago. So
see, bullying is good.
Bullying worked for me. I got emotionally abused into losing 100 pounds. I'm very happy in my marriage now.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So the way this game worked, it was kind of like Jeopardy. There was always 2 new contestants and the returning champion. Okay. And so he's in the middle. He's standing in the middle. And to his left is the returning champion, Ed Long, who lives in California. Got an advantage, didn't have to drive very long.
Sure.
He's a Baptist minister. On his left is Janny Litras. This is her first appearance. She's a dental assistant. And so this is her first time. In the first question round.
Ed has been on before?
Ed's been on. Yeah, he's the reigning champion. And to put it in perspective,
it's like Jeopardy where you can the winner.
If you win, you go on to the next game. Yeah, you're there just kind of perpetually until you lose. And to put it in perspective, before we get too far into this, the average winner on this show walked away with about $14,000 in prizes between cash and like appliances and travel, about $14,000 value, which adjusted for inflation today is about $40,000 today. Yeah. So like a pretty big, like sizable winning on average on this show. And so in this first question round, he gets a question correct, so he gets 3 spins. Yeah. And so this is his first time out. He's trying to learn the rate, and he knows right off the bat. He says, I need to avoid square 17, and I think it was square 2, because he knows that in this round with the pattern, those are going to be the whammies. Well, he nails square 17, gets the whammy first round, and this is his actual genuine reaction to that.
They're pulling a fast one up.
But
I know this route better than I know my ice cream truck route. I know that they're playing a little game.
They're playing a little gamey with me.
I bought this shirt for 65 cents.
So
they're not going to get anything past this 34 years of experience.
So luckily, his first spin was a whammy. And so he didn't lose anything. He just lost the spin. But he's frustrated about it. Yeah. But he knew. Now he's like, okay, I think I got an idea of like the touch. And so he hits his second 2 spins. His second spin, he lands on square 4. And then he lands on square for the next 2 spins, which get him a total of $2,500, equivalent to $7,300 in today's money. And so a pretty decent first round out. Second round, he does a lot better in the trivia, and he lands himself 7 initial spins. So a good round. And so he started in last place on this round because he had that whammy. So the other 2 people are ahead of him coming into this next round. And
at 2,500.
At 2,500, he's in last place. They're ahead of him. He comes into this second round with 7 spins. And here's the way the game works. There's also certain on the second round
plus 1 spin.
Yeah, where you get cash, you also get another spin.
Right.
And so he knows those are like we talked about
Obviously,
before.
I gotta hit those.
4 and 8, you can get not only cash, but you also get spins.
Sure.
And so he goes and he gets 7 spins, and throughout the course of those 7 spins, he gets 15 additional spins.
Okay.
So he's now at a point where he's got 25 spins so far on the game. And he's landing.
The video of him doing this, by the way, I've seen the video, is pretty fun to watch because he claps like a psychopath. He hits it and he goes,
He does.
Like he's 34 and literally has nothing else to live for.
Yeah.
This is it.
Remember, this is what 34 looks like.
Years old. Okay?
So he's going and he's nailing these spins.
If you're listening to this, by the way, and you're 34, he looks like you.
Up until spin 16, his 16th spin, he's a little all over the place. He hasn't quite dialed it in. So he's hitting 4 and 8 a lot, but he also manages to hit 6 once, which got him $2,200. So that was a decent one. He hit 7 twice, and through those 2 number 7 boards, he got $2,600. He hit 17 that first time and it was a whammy, but in the second round, 17 is no longer a whammy. And so he hit it 2 more times and ends up getting $3,300 from the whammies. And so by spin 16,
17, you mean?
From 17, yeah. And then at spin 16, he then goes on a run of 29 additional spins. And on those 29 additional spins, the only 2 numbers he hits is 4 and 8, which are the 2 highest number, like prizes you can
You
hit.
got to think the producers are watching this. and
They
they're
are
like-
losing their mind. They are in the truck and they are yelling at
They're
the
like,
host.
hey, kill him.
Make him lose.
Kill him on TV.
Make him lose.
Pull the gun. This is why we have the gun on set.
This is why we
Pull
have
it out and shoot him right
The
now.
gun is for this
Shoot
moment.
this man.
There's an assassin on set.
Oh no, people are fainting. Everyone get out of here.
It makes great television. And so he goes on this run and he essentially gets to the point where he spins 45 times. And at this point,
They're not letting him on the next day. That's what I'm saying. They're not like, you know what? You won.
Yeah, you got
You
there.
get to come back tomorrow.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, a great way you can help us out is by sharing it. Send it to your friends. Click that share link. Send them the link and say, hey, this is a little show that I watch sometimes that I think you might like to watch sometimes. And your friends will say, this is weird, but it's okay. They'll eventually start laughing at it. I think maybe. It depends what kind of friends you have. If you have some. I hope you do. This is a great way to help. He's at this point obliterating his opponents. Like
How much does he
obliterating
have?
his opponents. So at this point, here's where he's at. This is right before his last spin. This is right after spin 45. He hits it. And this is the totals of the game.
102,000,
Yeah. And so
which
Ed,
is how much today?
adjusted for inflation today, that 102,000 is equivalent to $301,635 in today's cash. And so to his left, Ed has 4,080. and to his right, Janice has 4,600.
And he has 102,000.
And if you're listening, this picture
This
is
picture
just
is perfect.
incredible. Ed thinks it's hilarious. Ed is like laughing in his face. He's a little annoyed. Janice is furious.
So angry.
So mad. Because I want you to think for a second. We're in this game show. We did a round of questions. We did a round where everyone got 5 or 6 spins.
And now
then
you've
we did a
spent a
round of
half an
questions.
hour standing there.
And then you just stood there and watched this guy spin 45 times. And he just keeps getting more spins. And so after this round, he wins. He wins it. He's celebrating with his hands out like this. And
how does it end? I mean, if you're hitting over and over.
the idea is that you don't. That's the idea. Is eventually you run out of spins. Is the rules of the game. But it's like you keep going until you run out of spins. And so,
That's what I'm saying. How did he run out of spins?
well, here's what happened. So he gets to this, he spins 45 spins, and he, in an interview afterwards, he says, I remember that moment. I was just so drained, and I realized I forgot where the whammies were. And he's like,
okay.
I'm
He
looking
didn't
at the
wanna
board,
risk it.
and he's like, I don't know where the whammies are. And so there was an option in the game where you could pass your spins along if you didn't want to risk anymore.
Yeah.
Because for a normal player who doesn't know where the whammies are, you at any time are risking that you're going to hit a
Right.
whammy. And so you could pass it along. And so he says, I figured I would pass my spins over to the other board players. And so they both got his remaining spins. And so each of them get the remaining
immediately
spins.
hit whammies.
Ed Long's first spin hits a whammy. Back to 0. Janice gets a couple spins. And so it bounces to Janice now. Janice has a couple spins.
Yeah.
Janice hits a couple. And then on the last spin that she inherited from him, she hits a whammy. Both of them walked away with a 0. And he walked away with $102,000.
Adjusted for what, 300 something?
$301,000 in today's cash.
So you
And
know the
so-
producers are like, he's done.
Yeah,
he's
you
done.
were exactly right. The producers are losing their mind. They, like, the network heard about this, and the network's now on the phone.
They heard about it.
Yeah, the
sure.
network's on the phone with the producers, and they're like trying to figure out. They're like looking through the rules. They're like, how can we make
They're
it
like,
to where we don't have to give this guy
Can we
this
kill
money?
him?
And so they,
How can we make it so we don't have to pay him?
yeah, because they don't want to give him that much money, because that's a lot of money for the show.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot. That's way
their
over budget.
entire budget for the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, that is basically
like
8
10
shows
episodes,
worth
yeah.
of 8 episodes worth of prizes that they did in one day. And so they spent a long time looking over the footage, looking over the rules to try to figure out.
But there's nothing he did technically wrong.
Well, what they started to figure out is they saw that he hit 4 and 8 over and over again. And they were like, there's no way someone knew.
Yeah, but that's on them for not making it actually random. In court, I don't think that holds up.
So they knew, they said something's up because he just keeps hitting 4 and 8. He knows to
He
hit
knows
4 and
the
8.
sequence, but that's still on you.
They're like, something's up. So they watched this religiously.
Yeah.
They went to his house. They put the tape on his 15 TVs and they stood there watching all 15 TVs. They said, thanks for having all these 15 TVs. Thanks for having us over. We've got 15 tapes we want to show you. And it's just this episode. So they watched the tape over and over. And what they realized is that
he knows the sequence.
Well, what they realized is that he was reacting a split second early. So before he would know, he was reacting. And so they're like,
Right.
he knows what's coming up because he's reacting before we reveal what's happening.
He figured out the sequence.
Yeah. And so they tried to use that to not pay him. But they went to the legal department and the legal department was like, that's not cheating. There's nothing in the rules that says you can't learn the order that the thing goes. And so you still have to pay him.
Right.
And so he ends up getting paid. He owes $30,000 in taxes on these winnings, but still walks away with 70 grand in the 1980s. And so he goes on from there, moves back to Ohio. He invests half of it in a real estate venture that turns out to be a Ponzi scheme, loses all of that. And then
should have bought Bitcoin.
And then he learns on the radio that there was the sweepstakes that the radio station was doing, where every day they were going to read out a dollar bill, the serial number on a dollar bill. If your dollar bill matched, then they were going to give away $500,000.
So he has $30,000.
So he took all of his cash out of the bank.
$30,000 $1 bills.
Yeah, he took all the cash out of his bank and left it in his house and would check those every morning on the serial number. And someone found out about it and robbed him and took all the cash. The theory,
because you can't have your tangible money. That's wild that we said that.
I know.
You can't have your tangible money in your
house, 30,000 cash. And the leading theory, it's never been like actually connected, but the leading theory, he was dating a girl at the time. Yeah. They were actually living together and they went out for a date. The money went missing. A week later, she breaks up and never sees him
for
again.
sure.
So everyone's like, yeah, she stole that money.
15 TVs and $30,000 in your bathtub. Every day he's in the bathtub like...
looking at all the serial numbers.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever... Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, just you have 30,000... Like, this is what I'm saying. Okay, here's what I'm saying. If I had $30,000,
yes,
we could turn that into more money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we're not dumb.
Yes.
The fact that you would pull it out in cash and try to win a sweepstakes,
yeah,
is just like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So from there,
stresses me out, guys. What are you doing? Just buy. Don't get a Robinhood account. Don't try to buy a hot stock. Just put some of it in a high yield savings account so you have access to it, and then put the rest in some index funds and grow it. And like, could you look up if you invested $30,000 in 1985, how much that would be worth now? You want to type a little harder? Thank you.
Let's see if this is actually going to calculate. Okay, cool.
Are you on howmany737s.com?
So 30,000 invested in 1985. If you put it in the S&P and just let it sit in the S&P, it's worth 2.1 today.
$2.1. That's pretty crazy. No, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's that. I don't know if it's the unnamed energy drink that refuses to sponsor me, or the stress of the situation, but it's giving me heart palpitations. That's for sure.
So after that, after he lost all his money, he became a job. He started working at Walmart and climbed the ranks to assistant manager. Worked there for a few years, and then
imagine losing. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
and then he got into a really exciting new business. And he actually got to the point where he had 14,000
What do you have,
customers.
like portfolios with the dollar bill? How are you reading the serial numbers? You got him like a Pokemon card?
Yeah, he's got like the
freaking
Pokemon binder.
That's what I'm saying. A 3-ring binder. And he's like, okay, let's see.
Yeah. Can you imagine reading 30,000 serial numbers every day? That's crazy.
I don't think he did. They had to be like, because he got them all at one time, they're like, you know,
Sequenced.
1, 2, 3, 4,
So
5.
he knew like.
So he has like duct tape on it that's written like, I don't even know what a serial number on a dollar bill is. Do you have a dollar bill?
I haven't looked at a dollar bill since I was 12.
I haven't seen
had
money.
cash in years.
Yeah, I got them all in my offshore accounts and Apple Pay, dude.
So he gets into a new business.
Crypto.
And so this is like the early 90s.
Pez dispensers.
Early 90s. He gets into a new business while he's the assistant manager at Walmart.
Yeah.
And he ends up selling all of his shares in this business, which was an MLM. And he sold out $1.8 million of his shares in this MLM.
And he pulled it all out cash. He has $1.8 million.
And he heard about
cash.
this. He heard about this sweepstakes.
He joined an MLM?
He joined an MLM and he actually
had shares in it?
Yeah, he made $1.8 million out of this
What
MLM.
MLM was it?
Adjusted for inflation, it's $3.6 million today.
What
that he
MLM
made.
was it?
I don't know what MLM it was actually, but it was enough for the FBI, the IRS, the Security and Exchange Commission, all to say, "Excuse me, what?"
Okay.
And so they charged him with fraud and stealing.
But how? Okay.
Because he scammed 14,000 investors to get into this MLM. I don't know if he came up with it or if it was a big name MLM, but there's 14,000 people who got in on it, and he cashed out $1.8 million from it.
That's what I'm saying. How do you cash out shares of an MLM? That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know what his involvement was in this MLM. I just know that the FBI was like, you made $1.8 million doing something illegal. And so they came after him, and he ran to Apopka, Florida, where he hid out for 4 years. And they did not find him. He ended up dying there in 99.
Years?
Yeah, he spent 4 years in Apopka, Florida with basically $2 million.
He died in 99?
He died in 99.
50s?
Yeah, he died of throat cancer in 99.
Oh, that sucks.
And there was an interview, or there was an article that was put out about him in 2011, kind of telling his story. And they said his impressive performance on Press Your Luck may be one of the only honest days of work that Michael Larson ever did. So yeah, he had a.
I read my eulogy this morning. I did the thing that
yeah, the journal,
and I didn't put it in there about the
MLM you're gonna do.
Yeah. I hope that I live a life that at my funeral people aren't like, yeah, I mean, the podcast was the only real thing he did.
Real honest day of work he ever did. Yeah.
But who knows? We got so much time to figure out who we're going to become.
So much time left to fraud.
Scam artists.
Yeah, to get scammy. So he had this really high moment in the 80s winning Press Your Luck.
Yeah, it's not illegal to learn that stuff.
Yeah, they ended up having to release that episode in 2 parts. It was too long for a single episode. And after they aired that episode, they went to the network and they said, never rerun that. Never rerun that. That's the only time that will ever air. And they actually negotiated when that went on to streaming services and stuff like that years later.
Yeah.
And when that went to like TV Land, any other network, it was part of the contract. You cannot play this episode. This episode's not included in this package because they didn't want anyone to know that it was possible. And so they actually reworked the board after that. Right. They made it significantly harder. Like there was now, instead of 5 patterns, there was like 40. And so it's much significantly harder to pick up on the pattern. And the patterns were a little bit more randomized, but not more randomized. And he actually called the game show in the 91.
I'm going to do it.
He called the game show years later and he said, hey, he's like,
I figured it out.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, bring your champion. He said, let's do a tournament of champions.
It's me, Michael Larson. And like you hear like coffee cups drop in TV Land. And they go,
they've got it on speaker.
They've got his picture on the wall.
It's TV Land. Every phone's on speaker in the TV Land office.
And they're like, Michael Larson.
Michael Larson.
I haven't heard that name. They're all 38, so they sound like that. I haven't heard that name in years. Because you know what I'm saying? Because they're ancient.
Yeah.
And so, that's another thing about being rich, though, in 1902 is that if you get sick, you're
dead.
I mean, I think medicine is also
pretty new.
pretty big factor in what.
Yeah, that's a
you
good
wanna,
point.
Anyway, well, maybe we should figure out what year is the best to be the richest. Anyway, but yes, so
he called back and he was like,
I figured
let's
it
do a
out.
tournament of champions. You get your best ever to play this game, and I'll play them. I'll beat them. I can learn I learned your patterns. I can still win. And they're like, no, thank you. We don't want to see it.
They're like, yeah, we're not stupid,
we don't trust
buddy.
that. We don't believe you. And so they actually,
they do believe you. That's why they're not going to bring you out.
In 2005, the show wasn't running anymore. But in 2005, CBS did a special broadcast where they recreated the set and they brought on two of the best people to ever play the game. And 2005, he had been dead for 6 years. They brought his brother.
Showed up.
They were like, what?
He's like, the rumors of my demise have been over-exaggerated.
They welcomed the two champions. They're like, two of the best people to ever play. And then lastly, our final guest. And then it was the Undertaker, the dong. And he like rises up from the stage.
He'd been buried in the set.
Underneath the set.
And that's because the... Sorry.
But no, they got his brother. They had his brother come and be him. But he wasn't as good. He wasn't anywhere near as good. Yeah. His brother lost contact with him decades ago.
Right.
Because he got in all the scam stuff.
Yeah. And his brother was just like, I came into $30,000 in 1985 and I turned that into $2.8 million.
All I did was invest in the S&P.
Turns out that's all you needed to do.
Turns out all you needed to do is put your money somewhere and forget about it. But not in your house.
Don't do
Don't
that.
forget it in your house. Unless you tell me about it. So that's the story of Michael Larson and how he had, that was the biggest single winning on a game show in game show history and was a record until the late 90s when it was broken by someone on Price is Right. And then a few years later, someone broke that on the Price is Right again. But adjusted for inflation, it's still far more, because in the late 90s, I think the winning was like 140,000, and then the one after that was like 170,000. But both of those, because they're so much more recent, you adjust them for inflation, it's not even close.
Sure.
He, by far, in terms of like actual buying power of his winnings, is still...
It's pretty wild to me that Big Brother in the past couple of years was like, now it's 750,000. It's like, guys, just jump to $1 million.
Yeah, just take it all away.
It's 2024.
Just go there. Yeah.
Just jump to $1 million.
Yeah. So,
but also, let me be clear, for casting, I would do it if there was no money involved.
yeah.
Just so you guys know.
I would do it if you took $750,000 from me.
I would pay $750,000 to play Big Brother. Do you understand? Do you understand?
I love the idea.
I've learned your patterns.
I know the patterns. I love the idea of you getting on Big Brother and winning.
And I paid to play.
And at finale night,
thank you. I gotta go put this in the ATM right now before it resets.
On finale night, the producers
are just
find that clip and they roll that clip on finale night.
I'm coming out to the confetti. I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, this is legally binding.
You said you said you'd pay. That's something those producers would do. They're vicious.
Yeah, they suck.
They are so vicious.
And that's why I want to do it so bad. I love them so much. I watch Big Brother for the producers.
Yeah,
Big Brother starts in next week.
It's got to be starting soon.
It's the 17th.
Really? I haven't heard anything about it yet.
It starts in 2 weeks.
That's exciting.
I mean, not from now. It's probably already
it's
on.
probably middle.
You can join our Discord. We have a channel where we talk about Big Brother. But anyway, I love
spoilers in
reality stuff. So
I love real life. I'm such a fan of real life.
I'm just so high on real life.
I love real life.
Anyway.
Yeah. So that's Michael Larson. Paul Michael Larson was the biggest winner and maybe the biggest loser. So shout out to him.
Fiddle Off.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you liked it, you might like Stefan Mendel. It's an episode we did a couple years ago about a guy who figured out the math to lotteries and just won over and over again. It is a wild story. You got to check that out. And if you want to see next week's episode right now, you can do that by becoming a Patreon supporter. And you can do that at TILLN.com/support or just become a subscriber. And then you can see every episode as soon as they come out. We have so many past episodes. You can dive down the deep dive. Make sure you leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the stuff the YouTubers say. And we'll see you next week on Things I Learned Last Night.